I got from the office. I don't mean make up the schedule, the timetable. So let's go. That's why I'm going to go back and look at it now. I had a piece of paper but I didn't carry it. But I have it on the system. Just like
it's 2 days and 100 days.
Yeah. That's why, because my students, they're doing a production tomorrow. And that's why I'm doing it tomorrow.
You're going on? You're on the system? Go on it and look and see that thing that I put on the notes I put on the front of me. You're not registered yet? You can't go on the system yet?
I can go on. I can go on. You want me to go on?
Go on, man.
But they sent it to us. It's in an email.
Yeah. You tried it on the web?
Show me that one.
It's kind of a thing, man.
But one in Brazil, those ones are for health, some health medicine kind of thing.
All those?
Yeah, all them are for health.
You're saying that what's the name chick name again? Daria said she wasn't sure she would make it.
Not sure. She confirmed that she was sure.
She said both of them. Yeah, we're going with Dorothy. What are you saying now? Eh? Before I do I just want to back up some of the land with the curriculum and then
The ways that I've done anything that they ask me to and then accessibility. So these are the questions about
no, the meta course is like she take the course. Remember we have ED311 and ED519. So do you have access to both the meta course and the course?
I'm seeing,
Because I have access to both the meta course and the course.
I am seeing principle, this is brain first, right? And then I'm seeing key factors in English curriculum.
Yeah.
That's the one that we started last year, and you are continuing.
Yes, so it's the same platform.
And the meta course is what's that?
It's the same course, key factors.
Okay.
But it might be called something else because that's done.
Okay, I'm seeing both.
But I'm not seeing no very language education department of. I don't see school of education. EDLA 1506.
Oh, what are you looking for having the 6th schedule?
This course.
You said no course was for machine that, really?
If I'm not looking
What do you have it on?
5109, I think.
2109? Okay. Okay. Yes, so this is the meta course. See there, it's ED.
I have EDLA5109.
Yes, so I'm saying that's the same course, lower school, undergraduate, right? Same course. So, do you have access to both?
Yes, Miss.
Okay, that's fine. That's what I'm saying now. There are a lot of stuff up on the platform that you can use. There's even something up here with some on textbook curriculum. You understand? The things are up there already. So you feel free to go through the entire. And that's why I'm not too worried because what I am now.
Miss, can you walk us through the textbook?
I soon come. That's what I want. I just want to. I want to see what I put there as a schedule. Let's go through the schedule. It's right on the platform as they come up. See there? August 1. Which day is August 1?
That's it. That's emancipation.
So how could they have given me August 1?
Which is Friday. That's Friday.
They gave me August 1 and August 6.
Did you realize that
And believe you me, I put them up there and never realized. So you mean that they made the timetable from last semester and never check. They should have checked. So we're in a problem here now.
Because it means that we need to make up hours.
Oh, God. I'm not sure with the school that.
That would be an extra with the school.
What you have on Monday?
Monday is Monday the holiday?
On Monday?
No, Monday will be the holiday.
Or we don't have any class.
No, we don't class on Monday. So
You don't have class on a Monday. But you have Chantal on a Tuesday.
Yeah, we have Chantal on Tuesday. We go until 2:30
On a Tuesday.
on a Tuesday.
That's how we have to go try and make it up, you know.
We could do Monday if Dario and are like all on Monday. the regular
Yeah,
hours.
yeah.
So that would cover for Friday. That
Uh-huh.
would cover for Friday.
We put the Monday coming, but it's not a holiday
No.
because the holiday didn't fall on a weekend. So it's not a holiday, it's a regular day.
I'm wondering what is really open on Monday.
Yeah?
Or sometimes they close.
So why? They close on
Because of the
holiday.
holiday period. Sometimes
No, I don't see anything. Well, I'm not sure. But I'd have to go perhaps let them. I have to let the office now know what happened. So if we put back that on Monday, and then we do class on Tuesday after Chantal, that is Tuesday before the holiday, that would be fine.
And that would be what if we did during the
But that's the only way. If we don't do that, we are going to go beyond August 13, and nobody wants that.
But I need to start preparing for my work.
Yes, because you know that's a new. We can't go beyond that day. And, I could put back in on Monday because I mean I could go from to Montego Bay end so long as they don't have a. You see, we have to be sure they're on a timetable for math.
Oh.
Yeah, no, they have class on a Monday.
All right, guess what? I'm going to call Chantal and let the office suggest it to her and let them work it out to see that it's not clashing. Let me do it right now. She will tell somebody in the office. All right. And then let them sort it out. But we can put to them Tuesday and Monday, right? Okay, let me just let her know that. See if you can get onto the slide with the textbook.
Just a PowerPoint?
Yeah. Yes, Chantal, guess what we just discovered? The schedule for the class. August 1st, Friday is a holiday, and Wednesday is a holiday, next week Wednesday. Right, but then the students and I can always decide how we're going to work it out, but guess what? Am I going to clash with math? Right, so that is why I am suggesting what we have in mind, and then now your office can work out if that is feasible. They're saying they have you up until 2:30 on a Tuesday. So if we put in some time after you on Tuesday, and they said they don't have a class on a Monday. You see what I'm trying to say? Max have it. For how long they have it on a Monday? I can use a small room, you know, I just want to use it for the small room beams too. If when I'm in the small room, those in Montego Bay can see. Okay, well good. Oh, okay. Okay, alright, I'll let it. That way you can fall. Alright, I'll do that before I leave. Alright then. Okay then, Chantal. The big room is being used on a Monday as we suspect. But then she's telling me about the smaller room. So
we just need to confirm with that.
no, we just want to confirm with them, and then I type up something and give to Chantal, and she makes it.
You want to say you're going to have it here? So you guys say you're going to have it here?
Yeah. No, I'm not.
I was actually coming out of a meeting and I wasn't sure, so that's why. I was in a meeting, so I wasn't sure.
One's supposed to be on hard. But I told him that I won't be there because I signed out. I won't reject today. I told him that I won't be there today after 12. Or something. Yes.
I don't know who that's it then.
Yeah, let's come to the other. About the email to call one that.
It's in the PowerPoint, something is in the metaphor. I think.
Yeah, the PowerPoint and
Yeah,
textbook evaluation.
right. But alright, just to recap the points that we made last week in terms of the curriculum. When you want to look at because you see, yeah, when you look at textbook, you're not looking at the textbook in isolation. You're looking at it as language teaching goals. That is what some people don't understand. They don't just look into it because a textbook can be fancy and look very attractive, but what are the issues to do with language teaching underpinning it? Do you understand what I'm saying? What is it saying about how language is acquired and what language is and what it does? So, as I was saying last week, when we are looking at it as language educators, we are not just looking at print and size of font and quality of paper. While that is important as well, that can come under one little block in terms of whatever they, yes. But what is more important for us now are the nature, how students are engaged in the language, the quality of input that they get in what the textbook provides, and the position that it takes about even grammar. You know, is grammar taught in isolation in the text, as opposed to contextualized grammar instruction? You understand what I'm trying to say? Or is it interactive grammar? You know, all of those things we take into consideration. So our criteria that we come up with are driven by SLA approaches as well, you know. We don't give up on those. So that's why it is useful to remember all of what you learned about, from the first part of the course where we're looking at theoretical issues, now we're into curriculum issues, right? And so to back up a little now, when we're looking at the whole language, the language treatment in the text, we said that when we look at language treatment, we're looking at things to do with language and power. You know, we could read Carson. He does a lot with, I think the whole text is called language planning. C-O-R-S-O-N. C-O-R-S-O-N.
What's his book?
The book is called Language Planning, I think. And it's Carson. Can't remember what it was. But he itemizes the way in which you can look at language when you're looking at language planning. You're going to see it in terms of language as a resource, remember that we're talking about. Is language a tool in terms of for getting things done, in terms of is it like a resource, something that the learner exploits in order to. So it becomes tool. It's like a tool, right? So resource, tool, and then there's also the thing about language study. Is the language itself becomes an artifact to study, right? We looked at that. And then you have to look at language and power. And that's where the policy comes in, right? The language and power. And identity is tied up on that too. So is the language policy intended to suppress other languages because of the language power and the power relations? You understand what I'm trying to say? So if you think of like in a communist regime as opposed to a democracy, as you follow, language policy is tied up with language power and language rights as well, right? That's another thing you might want to raise. The language rights. Are there issues to do with language rights? RIGHTS, in terms of whether or not it gives credence to like Aboriginal languages or mother tongue or other indigenous languages, right? That's are they treated with the same level of like equity and balance? right? So that's where you get into language rights. But then I always play around with the RIGHTS and also think about language RITES, you know, in terms of does the language learner go through like a rites of passage, as it were? You know, but that's my own take on it, you know, which makes sense to me because part of what I'm saying, when you think of the young learner, do they go through a certain kind of rites of passage with their language, meaning that we give them the power and the authority, we make that mother tongue something that, or do we teach them first in their mother tongue? Some countries teach them in their mother tongue first, then before they move on to a second language. For me, that's both RIGHTS as well as RITES. You know, the kind of rites of passage you go through, especially with the dealing with language, power, and identity. So these are the kind of things you throw around and you question as you begin to look at language. And how are you going to know that? You're going to know that in terms of what you say, where they put in the rationale, or where they put at the language goals. You look carefully at language rationale and goals, and you might find some essence of it also in what is referred to as the curriculum framework. Don't wait until you get to activities to know that. You see it in the curriculum framework, right? Because the curriculum framework would tell you the pillars on which the curriculum rests, right? So you look at this, and they might not call it a curriculum framework. I don't know what they call it, these somewhat, I mean, it's a good old curriculum framework, but it might tell you like the ideologies and philosophical underpinnings of the curriculum. That for me is still a framework. So it might talk about the philosophical, you know, the philosophy of learning or the philosophy of language learning and things like that, how the learner is viewed, etc. That's part of what shaped the framework of that. And all of those things come long before you begin to look at the activities. Because it's, you see, the activities are going to be governed by these positions that are taken at the beginning of the curriculum. And you usually find that in the preamble or the first part of whether it is a syllabus or not. You find it here up front, right? Some might call it like teacher's knowledge or teacher methodology. It doesn't matter, but then it's hidden, it's there as if it's spelling out how you're supposed to treat the language, how you're supposed to speak that. So if you're going to evaluate a curriculum, or if you're going to evaluate a textbook to the level at which it satisfies a curriculum, you'll have to look at the language treatment intended by the syllabus or syllabi or curriculum, and how that text, whether it is mirroring or supporting that treatment. So that brings us now to the textbook. So that's clear? No, I'm just saying that once you get into textbook evaluation and thinking that part of that evaluation must also raise questions about language approaches, you know, and the kind of philosophy about language that underpins the text. And I'm saying sometimes it is written out in those parts of the curriculum, but sometimes it's not written out at all. Sometimes you'll have to interpret it based on how. You see, because I can take up a curriculum and know that if language is supposed to be taught as interaction, without them saying that. Because when I look at the activities, they are interactive. And I can know if they are coming from a kind of graph translation method where you're learning the rules and structure of language, but not necessarily uses. I can know that because there's going to be a lot of exercises, a lot of grammar exercises, perhaps filling in the blanks, and very, very limited opportunities for talking and discussion and role play and, you know, the interactive elements. So those are the qualities of the activities can tell you the leaning of the text or what is lacking. You can know if there are gaps in that language approach because you don't see it reflected in the activities. Right? Because those things, those philosophical underpinnings, or the rationale or the curriculum framework are going to determine the nature of the activities in the text. So language treatment determines that. But can I tell you something else? It is easy for somebody to get up and write a textbook without even some of these things that we are turning about in our head. Because if they take it from a practitioner perspective and not necessarily from a theoretical or any kind of SLA or any approach to language teaching. They can get up and have a unit, and because they see so many texts around, they can put them passage and ask questions about the unit and make activities without even having done SLA. You see what I'm trying to say? But when we are in the position that we are in, we will ask deeper questions of a text than what the average person will ask, right? Because other textbook persons are not caught up with the issues that we are caught up with. Well, you see, you have to be caught up with those, because if the textbook proves insufficient in terms of how it celebrates the learner, or whether it celebrates the language of, or languages of the learner, or it enables the learner to either acquire or to model or practice the language, then you can know if it is either sufficient or deficient in whatever it is. So you have to do those things. All right. So let us see if we can find that textbook PowerPoint. Did you look at this introduction to the language curriculum? Did you look at this one?
No.
This, I think, is something that was done to see how, this is a school language curriculum. Oh, yes, yeah, that is the Jamaica introduction, right? They have their curriculum guide. The school makes a curriculum guide. So even if it is local curriculum guide, you know, what is it that right? Look at all some of these. Let me see if I can enlarge to tell you. Look at all some of these. You see? Look here. Methodologies. And they have your cooperative learning. You see that? And then it puts discovery learning. So even a regular curriculum that they're using must have some approach underpinning language learning. But some might not spell it out like this. But then the activities will determine that. So you can look at, this one is a JC one. And I think on there was one that Woolmer's Girls, maybe we took off that one. There was one that was done by, because what Woolmer's Girls School does, they write what they do, they have a practice that after they develop the syllabus, the teachers you write, because they teach from grade 7 up to 11. That's how they stretch their teacher. Which has it plays off good, because I mean, it's like it gets scaffolded into grade 11. They don't, some schools might have upper school teacher and lower school teacher. Everybody has a different dimension. And what they do is that you will write a grade 7 lesson plan, and I write grade 8.
Yeah, that's what we looked at. That's what,
yes.
When I was at Woolman's Boys, that was.
Yes, and it has its merit, because everybody has somewhere to start. But then when let's say I'm teaching grade 8, when I get that template, when I get that lesson plan, I can always add to it, you know. I can always flesh it and put my own style to it. But the bottom line is that right across the grade 8, they're getting this, they're at least having the same minimum standards. And I thought that was a good way. So when we get into talking about the role of the HOD, these are some of the things that come into place, you know. How our staff members deploy, and I mean, what kind of strategies support language teaching? I mean, how do they take that? How do they nurture the language learner in the lower school, or scaffold them into upper school language? These are some of the things that you ask. And it's not only by professional development workshop, but it's the workload of the teacher split in such a way that there is like a grooming of the teacher. And is there, what you call it now? Is there a professional, but because you can have an English department, you can have any department at all, but you're not a professional body. You can just be in the same department. Somebody marks your lesson plan, but there is no, you're not what they call a professional learning, a group of learners, a community of learners. When you're a community of learners, it means that you do things together. You have your workshop, somebody might even go and, I remember when I was at St. Hilda's, people are afraid of poetry. And I insisted that they would have to, as HOD, that you know, you'd have to do that. And I would go to lower school just to teach poetry, because and then the teacher would sit there and watch, you know, and until we get our somebody go to upper school to do that. So what we did, we drew on the strengths of persons. So I didn't keep them like, because I went there and saw somebody teaching grade 1, form 1 and 2, and then 3 alone, and then 4 and 5. And you as a lower school teacher, it's as if it was a shrine, you know, like fifth form. No, you can't do that. You know, so there has to be a time when you give a fifth form to a teacher, if it's even to watch her do that, once they're qualified. So this is what we mean, that if we mean by a professional body, meaning that you use your own skills and talents to improve everybody else's skills and talent. And then in addition, you might have your professional development workshop. Alright, so let's go back now to the one. So I don't know if there is any question you want to ask, but these are some of the things we raise when we talk about language curriculum. I don't know if you have come across, you want to reflect on the one at your school. Perhaps you should do that now as we close this section. Reflect on the curriculum that's used at your school. Are you satisfied that some of the things that you have is in this course in terms of even SLA theories and some of the things that your sensitivity has been heightened to know? You think those things impact on your curriculum? Are there silence, or you never thought of them before? Are those things important in your school, or what's the position in your school?
I think the approaches to teaching. I think for the most part, because the teacher is in the department that I'm a part, they are for the most part qualified, trained teachers. So I would have been teaching. So what I would do is to go to their classes and watch movies that they do and try to see. But I find that I'd say that they are at the cutting edge for the most, and I think there's latitude for experimentation to the extent where even fourth formers are allowed to pursue CAPE programs. So that there are 2 fourth formers who were actually experimented with for CAPE literature.
That's good. That's good.
What they realized too is that even those 2 girls, and there was a pilot project, their grades were way better than the students in 6B.
There you go.
So there's latitude for that, and I think having a new principal, even though that was allowed before, to have a new principal who is student-centered, and I think she's about the whole moving on the school from a good school to a great school. So all those would actually be taken into consideration.
You're gone almost now into change agent.
Yes.
You know, almost how the teacher now can, because you mentioned a keyword, you said it was an experimentation, and then you said it was like a pilot study, because that is what it is, you know. In a sense, part of your professional responsibility is to be a researcher, and a researcher don't mean like you just research for your teaching, yes, and you look for languages and you use a book and you sit 1-to-1. That's fine. But there's also the research that is going to inform either your school policy or your school practice, which is part of what you're doing. So although you might not have written it up in a formal way and say, here is our hypothesis, but technically that's what you're saying. You said these 2 girls, based on their ability and interest, if they were to do CAPE from 4th form, they will be successful. And because of that hypothesis, you went about to give them that. And then should they pass, because you have observed that already, should they pass, the next time we might say, well, it's possible we might be able to pull a class, or you pull 10. And then after that, you will do what is called domestic policy, language policy, which it's almost getting into policy, although it's not written, but it become a practice now that everybody know that you send up a set of CAPE students from 4th form. And that is how it becomes practice. But you don't just get up out of yourself and say, all right, I'm sending up 5B because they're bright for CAPE. No, you really, because you're not doing what is required in the syllabus. You say, let me experiment with it. Yeah, and do it. And I'm sure the students don't mind that, because the way the syllabus is organized in CAPE facilitates that. You do Unit 1, you can do Unit 1 from 4th form, and then fifth form, so you might find that, you know, if you do it right, you might find that the students graduate at the end of the year with CAPE units plus CXC underneath the belt. Yeah, you know, so they're ready, so that's good. What is the experience like at your school?
Well, because Excelsior is a community college, it's a tertiary. There is a challenge in terms of specific curriculum. There's a curriculum guide. I don't know that it's a curriculum. All they have done is just to write a document where it's okay, semester 1 cover this and this and this, and semester 2 cover this and this and this. The challenge though, the more I'm exposed to the information, I went back to my supervisor and said, there needs to be change. And partly, lecturers complain because that the students are not being well in English language. And I said to him, probably partly because of how they've been taught. It's not just the students. Because when I look at the curriculum, and I've always had issues with the curriculum, I said to him, you cannot, in semester 1, it is done by week. So week 1, they do introduction and diagnostic test. Week 2, they're doing, for week 2 and 3, they're doing descriptive writing. Week 4, you do grammar and some grammar thing. Then week 5, 6, 7, you do story writing. I said, there's no transfer. You know, students who are not even taught how to write a paragraph, then how are you going to ask them to write a descriptive essay, which is 40 words? So I said to them that there needs to be change. So it's a major challenge because in my mind, in other words, how they write the curriculum, it is based on the fact that all students who come back in semester 2 they hardly come regularly in semester 2. And I said to them, it cannot be the case that we are writing a curriculum based on the attendance of the students.
No,
can't
not
be
at
like
all.
that. Cannot be like that. So I've actually started, you know, changing it. That's what I really wanted to do, the curriculum part, to actually develop a curriculum document and say, Excel, this is how we do.
But you'd have the opportunity to do it in the 79, the one for the language use, that one where you develop a unit, and you can actually do that
We'll be
with
gone,
it.
miss. We'll be gone.
No.
We'll finish. Remember, so we finish. This is our last lap.
I know, but you'll have a chance to do it and then have the experience. You'll have the experience.
No, as I say, I'm working on it.
Yeah, man. You'll have the chance to do that. All right. So we have a case now where obviously there's a policy and practice that's supporting and nurturing language and the language learner. Then you have a situation where it's almost as if they're doing they're like, for me, it's as if they're doing as you say, certain topics that they feel like they're just giving them what they think is essential.
Right.
And
that's right. So this also, because story writing is essential, they just teach it in semester 1. That's really what they're doing. And we quote unquote have a language unit. The person who's the head of the language unit does not have any qualification in language.
that sounds like a unit plan, more than a curriculum.
It's really a unit plan. That's really what it is.
The person don't have any experience in language.
No, he doesn't have any qualification in language. He has a master's in economics.
And he heads the English department?
Well, it's not a department. As I say, it's a kind of, at the church level, it's a kind of strange arrangement. There's liberal arts, humanities, and liberal arts. So there's the person who sits at the head. But then they have this unit. I think they're giving him positions. So he heads that department, but he doesn't have any qualification. Yes, it's a challenge. One of the teachers is actually a librarian, trained librarian, and she was moved from that to teach language. But because I'm not one of the big wigs, I just...
Well, that's the community college, so what they do? They do K, literatures in English,
They do K, literature.
and they expect the students to do well and
that's a challenge, because, and that's what I was saying to my HOD, because even for com studies, I went back and I said to one of the com studies teachers, I said that we need to be on the same page when we're teaching the students, because every time there's assessment, there's a challenge. We have to be calm. Well, you need to teach, you did cover this, you did cover this. We said, no, we need to approach it. I said, we're all on the same page. She said, no. She has a formula and it works and she's not changing. That's why she says.
What?
Yes. Because she wants, in her mind, she can finish the syllabus. September to December, she can complete the syllabus, communication and studies. And I said to her, there's no way she sat down and write and wrote a syllabus.
She finished the syllabus in
That's what she said.
September to December?
That's what she says. And I said, no, that cannot be possible.
Syllabus completion become against students' competence.
No, but she couldn't finish the syllabus in one term.
But that's what I said to her, there's no way she can do that.
There's a whole, when you look at even the one that is called research, that research
It's a
module,
lot of work.
it takes them to actually do the research, come back, whatever. And
But again, she does that because she says in semester 2 the students don't hardly come to learn. So that's really how that's
So she do a crash program.
it's really a crash program. And then her thing, I get 100% pass, but I said to her, what's the quality of the grades? So students getting 5 and 5 and 5, what's the quality? It makes no sense.
But they could, if she did teach them, I mean, have a structure, something that one, the skills carry over, she could have get higher grades than that. They could be coming out with 1s and 2s.
So that's a challenge, it's a major challenge, and then it's a turf war at Excel. It's a turf war. So if I say something as a quote unquote young lecturer,
yes,
it becomes a challenge. Also, not for him, you know. But for the English language, though, the person who heads the department, that era, and that it falls under the school, he said he actually looked at it and said there's a problem. But because he's not an English language teacher,
he can't see it. He
knows
knows there's something wrong.
So he knows there's something wrong, he doesn't know what is wrong.
He doesn't know
so
what
I
is wrong.
emailed him and say, Rabbi, I'm so happy for this. And even today he was saying to me, when are we going to meet? And I said to him, I'm working on fixing the thing, but because I'm still going to school, I can't take on it.
Well, I'm happy. Something is in the making already. And you'll get a chance to put in what you can. Because there's no way it could go on like this.
And it has been going on for years. And they complain, and that's it. Because I was thinking, probably it's not the students, probably it's us.
It's not the students.
It's not the students, it's us.
Because those students coming to Excel, they would have come out of
high school.
So they should be ready for a movement that will take them to a greater level of autonomy and so on. And it's no man, they can't.
And my students are going to be better than the other teachers. Always.
But then you would expect them because
Always.
they're taught.
They always do that. So I just, it's because of the politics, sometimes I leave it.
Well,
sometimes if you just work silently and
yeah. But the politics is everywhere.
Yeah, it's a political thing. So
yeah, so let's go for it. So let's move on now to the textbook, alright?
You know, I carried my textbook, so I left it in the car. Actually, I carried a textbook. It's an English language study. Is it study guide? That's what I call it.
Okay.
I was looking at it. I was thinking that's the one.
Is it on the
It's not one of those on the bookprint on it.
It has to be on the bookprint.
No, not necessarily, but you could start with those. Yeah, you could start with those.
It probably is because it's something out of CD and all that kind of
When
stuff.
who did it?
It's on the bookprint. My car is right there. So.
Yeah. When are we going to tell the girl now, the ones downtown, don't want to go away now? Because I don't even think they realize that, just sat and said, because I'm here saying I'm staying back because I have class on Friday. And then it hit me, Friday. Because I heard my husband say this morning, it's Friday's holiday.
Yeah.
And then I said, no, I couldn't do that. But then I couldn't find the paper in my car because I know I had it at home. So I said, all right. I said, okay. Let me, oh gosh, this isn't working. I want you to
Just click enable editing.
I want you to get it down. Oh, I can't do nothing. I want you to get it back down to 100. Because I had enlarged. And it's a bit. It wasn't so big.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's fine.
It's 100 camera, no problem. It's 100 camera.
Oh, so I have to now go on PowerPoint. We never go on that.
But we could have just used this computer. And
because you have the, yeah.
So the textbook evaluation program.
Relax, how are you? I'm good. Yes.
You should be finishing then.
Pardon me?
You should be finishing now then.
Yes, I'm doing my last assignment.
Yeah, that's good.
Yes.
This is it.
Actually, boss, I was marking it comes to.
Oh, it's a revision guide. It's
It's not.
not a text.
Oh, it's not a text.
It's one of the revision guides that they. It's not a regular textbook that lasts for like a 2-year program.
Well, I normally use a comprehensive English course. I prefer the old one, but not the revision one. So this could not be used.
It's not that it couldn't be, but it's technically that's a revision guide. So it would be like trying to use some criteria for it. You'd have to develop a different set of criteria to look for at a revision guide. Because the textbook has a greater length of time in terms of pacing of activities and how the learner is scaffolded throughout. The revision guide assumes that the learner
Already knows.
yes, and just gives them some practice exercise. So it's not a good thing to use. But what we are going to do today, we're just going to look at some of these issues that were raised. They came out of in fact as I said, the kind of questions that I raise for textbook evaluation for me are more to do with language position, language treatment, and so on. But if you notice that the others that are developed, they look at other things like the content and the methodology. I guess we're saying the same thing, but for me, there's a larger force underpinning all of that, which I think is the position of the language treatment, because I feel that will have great implications for how the textbook is written. For example, you would not perhaps have come across them because they're not books that were developed for traditional high school. But there are a set of books that they came out of the secondary school's textbook project when I was on the project. When they had that big rental program just started with Miss Touch and so on. Perhaps you guys were still young and going to school. What happened was that when we found out that the books that we had on the program for rental, that is traditional books, books that are like what we have now, they were a set of learners in our secondary school system who could not access the curriculum with those books. Right? Because they're the same ones they have in A-Step now. Yeah. They just call them a different name. But when the Rose curriculum was developed, they were referred to as foundation learners, Foundation 1 and Foundation 2. And then you had the normative group and the enrichment. So the Rose curriculum saw a band of learners. And then they said that all learners had the same. There were some buzzwords for that curriculum. Maybe I should write that down, for the Rose curriculum. They said they had equity, access, equity, quality, and productivity. Equity, access, quality, and productivity. What they were saying with access was that every single learner, regardless of his language needs or his inability to read or whatever, should have access to the curriculum. At that time, UNESCO was big with this curriculum for all, for all, right? And so the movement saw us trying to get those learners who were reading several grade levels below their age grade level to access to a text. So the philosophy comes to the point I want to raise now. When you see those books, because I wrote the language one with a co-writer called Eileen Marshall. The grade 7 one was called School and Family. The other one was School and Community. And I think the other one was the World and the Environment, or the World or something to that. I can't remember the third one. But there were 3 books. The School and Family was for grade 7. Because the whole curriculum for the grade 7 had a whole theme called My School and I. And that was a personal thing. And the policy that we took for language was that the learner's first language was Creole. And we were going to enter them. We were going to start with the language that they knew. the Creole language. That's where we're going to start. So regardless of what curriculum was, what content they were doing, they're starting with the Creole. And of course, we pilot tested it right across the island. And the students who want the books were for, they were fascinated with the story of the students in the book, in a comic strip. So that's where the Creole was. They couldn't read it. It was their language because it was a Creole that wasn't written in Cassidy phoneme. It was written as close to how they spoke as possible. And Robin, the students determined right across the pilot test, across the entire island. The students loved the comic strip. They loved the Creole. The things that they wanted, we put it in a book for them. They were the ones who said what they wanted. And those books were on the rental program. And you had some persons who were so upset that Creole was written in the language book, that the principals just, it's the same place where they deliver them in the schools.
Yes,
the same place there they stayed at the groups. And the students who use the book, like I remember when I was doing my doctorate about the same time, I went back because I couldn't believe that there were still some schools who were using the books. And I said, but those schools, how come the students go in there at grade 9? Like they go in there at not grade 9. They don't want to do the grade 9 achievement. So when they passed their GSAT, their COM task was like rubbing sometimes 0. I know it's marked out at either 10 or 12. They got up 2. The communication tab 2, 1. Those were the students who ended up. And let me tell you, the school was Higgins Primary and Junior High. Another one, Money Primary and Junior High. 3 other junior high schools. All those schools that used the book with the students right through to the grade 9. You know what happened to those kids? Then I asked them, they took the GSAT exam and caught back their peers in grade 9 at high school. And the tracer studies show that they came out with the CXCs like they were just late starters. They were late starters, and so the book empowered them. They did the project work, they did that, they saw themselves in the book, they were so excited. And I said to myself, so why are we like that in this country? If 3/4 of our learners in school, they speak a language other than the textbook language, and you can teach them. We weren't teaching them in Creole. They were just using that as the springboard. So when the students start to talk to you in Creole and they say anything in Creole, they move to writing the language experience stories, showing them another version of how it could be written. So they had a Creole version and they had their version. And if that works, why not continue to do it? So that's what I'm trying to tell you now. The language policy, depending on what you expect the learner outcome will be, will determine how you're going to treat the language in the text. Right? So, although we claim that we are in a bilingual society, the early childhood curriculum, that one year, the integrated curriculum, not the early childhood, well, the early childhood curriculum speaks about, the policy is like we call a transitional bilingualism. Transitional. That means that they transit from a home language to school language, right? And then you have what you call additive bilingualism. Additive bilingualism is another language that you add to the students. So you might decide that, okay, we are going to add Spanish in the curriculum, right? So that's another language that they are going to learn. So they are going to be bilingual, English and Spanish. But you also have subtractive bilingualism, meaning that by the time the child reaches a certain grade level, you don't want to hear that none at all. From you finish with his first language, and some of the African states do that. What they do is what we call additive, because they add English, they don't subtract any of their mother language. So you go to like Igbo classes, they go to different classes in their other, they see like when you go to Spanish classes, they go to classes in their native language, and then they have English classes separate. And let me tell you, if you ever come across some of those people from Africa, like the Nigerians, no matter where they're from, they learned English as a true foreign language. And let me tell you, they're meticulous like this. Even about professors say, If you give Shaiba yours, well, somebody asked me how I tolerated him to edit my work. So me know why I give it to him. The level at which they learn English, nothing slips them. Or some things where you question and say, and you might say, passive here, passive, not the active. They don't miss anything. So he would have gone to what you would call an additive, because English was added to his book. Still in his mind, we don't have additive. What we want to do is suppress and to take that away. But the research has shown that in countries that add the language, as add another language, and the other one still has equal value and treated well, learners perform it. It's only in instances where the mother tongue is suppressed or treated as if it is bad language or broken language or inferior where you have the problem. But we will never ever reach to that stage because we have an issue that it's already bad. Alright? So you ready now?
Yes, sir.
Alright, when you go through this, remember, I want you to, at the end of this lesson, I want you to develop a slide, another 1 or 2 slides that raise the questions about some of the things we were discussing, the one that come from. Yeah.
To make it a part of this.
Yes, yes, to add that. Because remember we said that these are just things that were raised. They're not necessarily, all of them are not my ideas, because as we all use the same platform, we add our voice to it and so on. But what I want you to use to do is to look at some of the things that are raised and to see if you can use some of those now to develop an instrument. So later today now we're going to talk about what you look for in the instrument. You're going to have certain areas, and of course you will be already familiar with the Likert scale. Are you going to rate it along a 5-point or a 4-point scale? Are you going to rate it as, like you'd say, visible, not visible, or you're going to rate it as to be like adequate, inadequate? What will be your things for that, for to match your Likert? Because that's the way. So you give 5 points if you think that it is done proficiently or insufficiently or whatever. So you come up. But one of the things you should try to avoid is like fair, poor, because that don't tell you anything.
Yeah.
Those things don't tell you anything. Things like proficient, advanced, and some other terms, they carry a better feeling of the text than that. So they don't give him any. Is one fucking care coming here?
Exactly.
No, maybe. Alright, so we're ready. So content. You can see that you're following on that. See? These are not voiced as questions, you might want to say. How current is the content? You understand what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Or you might just put content and you have your area here. But they look at content.
Content currency.
Yes. They have language appropriate to grade level, vocabulary expression appropriate for age, concepts expressed in simple, clear, and new concepts already adequately explained. Now, look at how this is. Perhaps now, if I were looking at language itself, this is language that is appropriate to the grade level in terms of perhaps the voice in the text. But this is not language the way that we are looking at it in terms of language learning. You understand what I'm trying to say? Just looking at now to see if the pitch, how the activities are, if the language is appropriate to that grade level. So when they're looking at language appropriacy, they're looking at the level of difficulty and the voice, whether or not it is above the student's head or just at their level. But there is more to language appropriateness than just whether it is suitable for grade level. Because language appropriateness can fall under language treatment. And is that what they teach? Are they teaching language appropriateness, meaning that their languages, all languages are equal, but it's a language that is appropriate for the situation and the context in which you are using it? That's another meaning for language appropriateness. You understand? So they're not teaching bad and good language or broken language, but language appropriate. Language, the appropriateness of language. So I want you to bear that in mind, that language appropriate to the grade level is different from language appropriateness, because language appropriateness is something that is nurtured in a bilingual environment. Like in our environment, we talk about language appropriateness because we feel that the Creole is appropriate for certain settings and standard Jamaican English is appropriate for that. So you see the difference now with language appropriateness. You can't just leave it at this. Right, and I think the other one down here is saying what I think the other one on the top was saying. This one about vocabulary expression appropriate for the age. Now that's different from language appropriateness. You see what I'm trying to say? So,
Do you agree with those? Do you agree with each criteria?
when I'm looking at them, they can work. They can all work. But the one that I'm saying now is the one. I have a problem with language appropriateness. Because for me, they're teaching the appropriateness of language, which is different from language appropriate for grade level. Right? So it's two things. So you look at the language
Language
appropriate.
appropriate is part of what we're discussing.
Oh yes, that's where it is.
So
It's
you
a part.
Creole would be
Yes,
because
that's
it's
exactly. So we don't know. I didn't teach last semester. I don't know if it comes back up. I think it comes back up under methodology, and that's the same. But we'll go there. But of course, vocabulary and expression appropriate for grade 8 level. Concept expressed in simple, clear language. That's fine. New concepts adequately explained. That's another thing for textbook. They want to know if the concept that they're going to teach, if it is explained. Right. And there are different ways, you know. If they are using discovery approach, they might not explain it. They might engage the student in an activity and then the child learn. So you have to be careful, because you might go to the text and say, I don't see a simile is a this and that and that and that. And it's not necessarily, because the style in which it is used and done, do all kind of simile and then down at the bottom now, then know what a simile is.
So that's why it's important for the author whoever puts it together clearly outline the guiding philosophies and ideology of physics, so that whoever is reviewing or evaluating will use that, so you're constantly going back to see if the person
Exactly.
is
And you have this in a cable? I can't believe. You never eat a lunch? Eh? So why you never go for the lunch? I would have introduced me to the lunch when I was there.
No, it's there now. We just don't get a chance to eat it.
You don't get, okay.
So we're waiting on the break.
What time is the break?
Miss, you tell us.
Because I ate. I
So that's why I'm eating. I feel so nice because I'm so hungry.
I know. So you want to go through this and then you break?
Yes, yes.
Alright then, good. Okay. Content is the right depth for curriculum. That kind of vague to me. Content is the right depth for the curriculum.
Very that's very.
Yeah, it's what I'm trying to say.
What does that mean?
What does this mean? What does this mean?
Is it saying that the content covers all the salient points of the curriculum, or we're not sure?
Exactly. So that's why I said this PowerPoint will raise your sensitivity as to the things that you put on. Right. But this is good. Connection made with real life situation. Content presents examples in which students can experientially identify. All of these have come under the same something about experiential learning. So if you wish, you could have put that under experiential learning. You understand what I'm trying to say? Alright? Content free from biases and stereotyping. And then look at free of editorial errors. Look at where it comes. So you see, it's not, would that come under presentation? You see what I'm trying to say? Would you put editorial errors and table of contents and those things under a different heading? You follow what I'm getting at? So how you head up your...
Because the editorial, it wouldn't be content.
It wouldn't be content. Exactly. So that's why I'm saying you look at this with a critical eye. And then now there's so much more for content. Because, yes, because there's a lot for content now, because when you look at language content for, there is language content.
Miss, did you say content could also be included as a kind of strategies that the teacher uses to get the students to develop their skills that are needed? So this content will be that as well.
Skills could be content too.
Your skills, right?
Because like speaking, listening, reading, writing, and viewing, that's content.
That's
you know?
content, right.
You know, because you see, are we saying that language is learned in interactive settings? If that is my philosophy that underpins that, then my content would be, reading. You see what I'm trying to say? There'd be a lot of reading, speaking, and there's a lot of opportunities for oral work. You see?
Oh, you know what we could do? I was thinking, we could use the text principle as a way to guide us in understanding, in doing the text evaluation. Because if students are operating in a curious-speaking environment, then the text itself must be engaging them in the four modes of learning: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Okay.
You can use that. And then you can give a rationale for why you use that.
Right.
And you can use that, and then you can use, you can blend how you develop that.
The eclectic.
Right. Yes, you can use an eclectic. That's a good one to use, because you are now injecting those Creole, whatever, ideologies into the instrument, and then you go back and use regular things like what other textbook instrument would look at, you know. You then look at even things as are the activities, you know, like the grade, what do you call it? The grading of activities, meaning that is it simple to abstract? You understand what I mean? And so things like that. And are the activities graded? Meaning that they have, it facilitates differentiation, you know, but then, is differentiation just a teacher intervention, or could that be in textbook where you have different tasks for different learners' interests and so on? You see? So these are some of the tasks actually. And, but then you have to also, to be fair, when you're developing it, because some textbooks are developed before, people don't really have they didn't say I'm going to differentiate, because learners, they differentiate the content, they differentiate this, they differentiate that, so that everybody gets, because perhaps that's not their philosophy, because normally when they develop a textbook, they're developing it to meet the needs of the learner for a certain kind of exit exam as well. And for the CSEC exam, with that exit, you wouldn't really have the kind of differentiation that you want, because that is not the purpose of the syllabus. You see what I'm trying to say? It is developed on the assumption that all learners have one goal, and they have what you'd call relatively equal abilities, because they would have gone through a lower school program and they are now in upper school. And if they are pursuing the CXC program, then they ought to have these basic levels of competencies.
Even at the end of the day, even so though, the textbook also would still have to be mindful of the fact that
they are different learners.
They are different learners.
Yes, and different learning styles.
Different learning styles,
Yeah.
and also
Right. Okay, darling, take care.
Well, we have to take it as an exit exam. The textbook itself should be mindful of that as well. Because before you write the text, you know that sources or have Creole as your mother.
And then another thing you must also ask, is it takes a writing course? Because if it is a writing course that's preparing students that write an exam, then there'll be a lot of emphasis on writing, and the other skills would be used to scaffold the writing. You see what I'm trying to say? So the talking, the reading, and the listening and the speaking would be done in an integrated way to support that. So you have to look and see what the textbook authors say. Like even the book that I developed, it's a writing course for secondary students, and so they write in English. So that's the philosophy that underpins that. But there's a lot of talk, a lot of oral work, a lot of planning, a lot of all of this coming right up. But every opportunity the students got to practice to write. But it's a quick write because it was supposed to be writing and it was about writing in English. So that's what I'm saying. You have to see what is guidance it is. And then it's achieve. It's on the book rental program.
I have a copy of the
Achieve. Just achieve, one word.
Just to look at the
Yeah, it's achieve. It's on the it's a recent addition to the textbook.
So what grade level?
From 4th and to 4th. Straight CXC.
So many things I can text, I don't know.
But that's the one on the book rental. It's on the two Naransi, but there's 3 books on the book rental.
I like the Naransi, but I like the first one. I think the first one. It needs to be more interactive. That's my issue. It's very. If I were a student and I were to use it, it's very distant and static. So just when you read simile, a simile is, an example is read. That's kind of, you know.
You know, when I was writing my book, I didn't look at any book at all that were currently on the market. I didn't look at. Some people say you go and look at this one, buy this one. Until now, I don't know what's inside of an Naransi book. The one that I refer to as a blue book.
Yes.
Until this day, I have not opened it to see what it is like.
How many teachers are you know you're using it?
I haven't opened it. I only hear they say the blue book, and they refer to it as the blue book in the workshop. If I tell you that this activity is in the outline, I didn't look at it. I just decided I wasn't going to.
Oh, we should do this one then.
That's what I'm thinking.
Look at it and see what it
So you're not
is.
going to mark it harder if you
No. Because I think no, it doesn't matter. It's written already and it's on the book. It's on the book rental. The thing I think they did it. Dr. Folcom did it with the undergrad. They went out. In fact, I had to bring a copy to give them.
Yeah.
The students insisted that they wanted to look at it. And then they were saying that the fact that it went under such scrutiny for the ministry, under their, because they have a textbook evaluation instrument there, that if your book passed that, you know, so it went through that, and they said they wanted to read, but, and then they copy and they did it, but, you know. And then so you'd have to ask, what is the approach to writing that state, because it says it's a writing course for, so you have to watch what the book is called to, you know. And then now, there's a book now, like the other might say, a comprehensive course for English. You look at it and you say, you know,
everything is a comprehensive.
You look at it and, you know, is it a comprehensive, you know. So things like that you might want to look at that and so on. But I just wanted you to realize that your textbook instrument, yes, you can go and see other textbook instruments that are developed. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can look at other instruments that have been developed, and you can adapt to them.
On the platform?
Did we put up one? There was one there when I don't know if you one day took that out, but there was one there when Beverly and I were teaching the course. And I don't know. There was one there. You can look. Let us go back and look. When you go back and look. But there was one there that the class had developed, and we put it on to show that. Alright, look at approaches now. Let's see what they say about approaches. Student-centered, students engaged, support varied methods of instruction, learning styles, and intelligences. Author successfully making the subject appealing and stimulating, and improves activities and opportunities for integration of technology. A lot can come under approaches, other things that you can put under approaches. Look at it now. Does it take a process approach to writing? Or what is the approach to writing? You see what I'm trying to say? And what role does talk play? You understand what I'm trying to say? What role does listening and speaking play in language learning? You see what I'm getting at? You see, a regular textbook instrument don't raise those questions. But because we know that an oral foundation is crucial for language development, we are going to ask that. You see? So you might ask that. And you might also ask, is there opportunity for, like when you say you for celebrating one's work, for celebrating the writer, things like that. Depends on what you want to put in there, Because when you develop this instrument, you have to give me a rationale for why you decide to use, like how you say you're going to use the Creole thing there, man. You might want to say why you inject that flavor into it. And then you come up with some other things that you put in there. Students required to perform tasks that extend and reinforce knowledge learned. What do you mean by extend it?
Students required to perform tasks that extend and reinforce knowledge learned.
So building on knowledge that they would previously have.
They extend it?
Yeah, I'm just thinking. Students required to perform tasks that extend.
And reinforce knowledge.
And so it should be reinforced and extend.
Reinforce and extend, and the extend can mean, do they get to apply it in real life context, or do they get to, yes, or and extended learning mean, are they going to use it in a, is it what you'd call synthesis? Are they going to use that now into a new form or in a new environment?
Could activities, I was thinking, could you look at the activities as being relevant in the sense that are current, in the sense that the activities take into consideration the learning environment in which the students operate?
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking because
depends on how you decide what you
right,
use
because
for
I think
relevant.
if it is activities at the end of the day, you're providing students with skills, but are those skills the skills that are needed
Yes.
in the wider society?
So you can talk about relevance now, you can define it to mean. So under relevance now you have a block. Like you have a grade.
Right.
Relevance now have the social relevance in terms of social dimension. And you might want to put relevance in terms of personal growth and development, or you might want to see relevance in terms of whether it is to the age grade level, things like that.
Right.
So when you use that, when you put a subheading or a topic that you're looking at, I think you should try to flesh out that topic with some other points below, because in doing so, it defines what you mean by relevance. Because you can put relevance there and it not really mean anything, because you might evaluate it and rate it at 5 and say it is very relevant. But relevant to what is the relevance? I'm still asking what is relevant. So unless you're going to develop the instrument in such a way that the key, the different items underneath the subheading already give you the criteria, spell it out nicely, and all you have to do beside it is to rate how badly or well this was done. Which is it. So much of the work happens in what you develop as a criteria in the instrument. That's where the answer is, the instrument. So you have to bullet those things underneath those. So like content, content is a big heading, but it might have 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 points underneath content. If you follow relevance.
We have to spell out content.
Yeah.
Definitely spell out content.
Right.
So and of course, I'm thinking that for content too, we'd have to look at the syllabus, because in the English language one get marked, so they are marking like for understanding, knowledge, and we can use that too as a way to become a part of the grid, in other words, because the text must be matching what the syllabus is asking for.
Yeah. So the syllabus goals and expectations would also be part of the criteria that you use to develop your instrument. So right now, if you were going to evaluate a book use at the CSEC level, and you do that syllabus goals and expectation from that, or you might want to look at the series, look at a lower school one and a one with the high. You might use the one that you use for the Creole speaking, things like that, and then you might want to put a little block there for writing, the writing. So you want a language treatment, and you look at writing process. So writing process could be one block, and then when they're writing, do they talk first? What role does talk play in writing? You see what I mean? And visualization or planning. You see what I'm getting at? Because all of that come under writing. Because you're thinking that writing is a process. So you ask some process questions on the writing. So when an instrument that is developed by a practitioner who has insights about how languages are learned and so on, it's different from one that is developed by a publishing house. Because a publishing house look at some things like that are predominantly cosmetic but are important for them in terms of, because a book can be pretty, you know, and not knowing how to teach language. You understand what I'm trying to say? So they look at some cosmetic things like gloss paper, print size, font, whether there's any, does it bold, highlight, keywords, and does it have a glossary? Yes, all of those things are important, but there's got to be a balance between those things and other things that we know a language arts takes out to. And sadly to say, sometimes there's a lot of emphasis on the former things and not on the latter. And then we have to be sensitive to that, because if textbook does so much talking in class, you know what I mean? Is the textbook rule or the textbook taught? Then you're going to ask yourself, say, if they're at the mercy of this text, that's where they're doing all the activities from and so, how well is that text preparing them? You know, that's another question. You know, that's part of, you know, if this is a required text or the main text. These are
Just on the side, I was thinking, because I'm interested in how boys learn English language in a learning environment, and I was thinking that the textbook evaluation could be a part of my own.
Oh yes, yes.
Is it that the textbook is the content and the relevance?
Does it enable boys?
Does it enable boys to?
Yeah, of course you can put that in. Of course you can put that in, because there's got to be a rationale for you when you're developing
Because we
your
know that
instrument.
girls come prepared for learning, but boys are sometimes.
One of the things I think you should do when you're doing the assignment is that you do a kind of rationale or an introduction, as you say, what are some of the things that you know that there's several instruments about, but this is how you would have wanted to, you know, these are key things that you think ought to be there. And as a result of that, you could say, I got one developed by Anderson that I adapted and injected these things in there, or I had to develop one from scratch. You see, that is the whole thing. I had to develop one from scratch because I wanted it to have these areas, and you justify why you think these areas are important, and then you develop the instrument, right? And what you're going to find is that it's an eye-opening exercise, because one of the things that we want the teacher to do is to evaluate the text that they use. Because when you evaluate the text, it carries me now to the point where I told you from the beginning. You cannot say because the book is on the book rate, it has already evaluated and chosen. That evaluation stuff. The textbook evaluation can be the very avenue towards successful textbook use. In fact, it is about, because what the purpose is not to find faults with the text, but to actually find the strengths, the powers of the text, what it is that is already there for you that you can zero in on and harness on, and where there are gaps, you know, then you can fill those gaps. So rather than running to 1 million textbook, what textbook evaluation does, it validates the text that you're learning, the students are learning. It validates that as a main text, and it empowers you to have that kind of control over it, because you know where it is strong and where it is weak already, right? So as part of your role in the department, one of the first things that they should do, like September morning as it were, or part of your professional development, especially they should go through some kind of textbook appraisal, you know, to go through it with an instrument to see what it is. So this is a book that's good for writing. One of the things that it does not do, it does not give the learner any pre-writing support. The writing tasks are good, but it doesn't give the learner the pre-writing support. You know what that tells the teacher when she's planning? That although the activities in Unit X are excellent, I have to do some pre-writing things like perhaps this music. Is what I'm trying. So the findings actually tell you how to plan. right? So the whole purpose of it is not to put on a mark and rate it. It's really to see what your resources are. And, you know, and then that leads now to what is my outcome? Adoption, adaptation, you know, appropriation or mediation. And sometimes you find that you do all. Because you adopt some things, you adapt some things. You see what I'm trying to say? You have to mediate in some areas. When you say mediate now, you're standing between the textbook user, the student, and the textbook. So you're mediating, so you have to put an activity in between in order to mediate. You understand? But you might have to mediate because you feel that the text might not have adequately prepared the child enough for the concept that is being taught. You understand what and you feel the discovery approach not going to do it, so perhaps it's best you tell them up front what that is and then they work backwards. So these are some of the things now that we give into. Right, and then we talk about the activities that are required to perform the task, and then higher order thinking and problem solving. Problem solving is big in textbook. But you know what is big here, and I don't think they have put it in here? You know what is also big in textbook? The opportunity for reflection. That's a big, big thing. In fact, not just textbook, even your own lesson. Reflection is now found to be one of the most empowering experience in teaching and learning. When the learner is able to reflect. So does the textbook activities engage the students in reflecting on learning? You understand? And then reflection too is a funny word, especially for the educator, because you can reflect on action and you can reflect in. While you're in action, you reflect in. So one is on, you know, one is on. So you look back, you understand how you do, and then one is in. While you're in action, you're reflecting on that. But then there's also reflection for action, meaning that once you do this reflection, it's to take some kind of action, right? And so put that in there. And another thing you might ask, you know, the user, yes, the textbook user will reflect, but how does it engage the teacher too in that kind of reflective mode? And you hardly find that on evaluation instruments these days, but reflection is key. Do they get the chance to reflect on learning? And this is big now. I'm talking about teacher-assisted tasks and independent work from students. Which allows them to explore and generate and communicate their own ideas. And in the last year, they look at assessment. How does the book treat assessment? And before we even go on, you know, so reflection can be part of assessment. Did you know that? The reflection that they are engaging can be part of your assessment instrument. And if the assessment opportunities are provided throughout the text regularly, multiple methods of assessment, projects, portfolios, pen and paper, is it multiple modes? And does the assessment allows evaluation by teacher and student? So do you have peer assessment, teacher assessment? These are the self-assessment is important too. So the textbook that does a lot of check back, which is the same reflective mode, that's also very important. The last thing we have now is the organization, the logical, major concept highlighted in previews. The same thing I was telling you about the state something and you're restating to summarize, things like that. It's part of the organization. So organization kind of sound almost like a kind of methodological something, not just organization in terms of chapters. So that's why we have to be very careful. And then
At the introduction of each chapter, there's almost like reference to what was previously covered.
right, that's part of the organization. Or it tells them that in this unit you will do so and so. So it empowers them before they even start. But then physical features are the ones that I'm telling you about. Size, the durability, the cover design, the attractiveness of the text, and how the book looks physical. But organization is key. And the chapters to even how the units are organized. They place you someplace or you know, how is it organized? Organization is key.
Every reading manual is broken.
Really? That's a long man. When I was coming up and saw the reading puppy, I said, what? When did this happen? But you didn't rain down halfway tree, because I was coming from halfway tree. And then we said, Papine, not Papine, where the place down the road is, Ligoni. And I saw the rain down there, I said, man. But listen to me. Yesterday I nearly had a sunstroke in Old Tracy. And believe you me, it's pride. A student at CXC gave me the biggest hat, but the hat nice, you know. Big, and when I put on the hat, my husband he couldn't control himself, and I took off back the hat. And he said, I'm sorry, I went into Jamaica National to pay a bill. And when I come out here, I went into the senior citizen to get quick. I didn't spend not even 20 minutes going through. When I came to the place, but still I couldn't go back into the vehicle. The air conditioning here, I had to go over to one of the places, must be captains. They didn't have no straight water, I bought a bunch of water. And I sat there and when I couldn't get up, and some of the ladies started up and they said, Mrs. Rat, you want to come around? They said, the sun turned up bad over. It felt as if it was burning my skin. I had on a blouse, almost like it had a little polyester in it, kind of. It wasn't cotton. They said when we touch the blouse, I mean, it's like, you know, like when they put a clothes iron on it.
Yeah.
So what we can go on like this?
Yeah, it's changed.
We can't go on like this.
I see with AC, just they said 10,000 of it.
I can imagine.
I can't see because the time too hot.
Hello? Yeah? Yes, Rolando. Yes. I have, Yolanda, I have the parents, you know, I just didn't get around to go. Like when I ask you to pay all the bills, I don't think he has that set up on it. He just does what, you know, young people, he stays at home and pays the bill online, and that one didn't get paid. But is it possible to pay it like that? Or we have to walk up to the phone? Because everything gets paid online. Right? And you know, I asked, he didn't pay that one on some other movie that he said the system was not set up to do. So sorry, I have to call. So this today is finished already, so tomorrow morning. Tomorrow. So you think I could go online and pay it, or walk up and pay this first one? For the first one, okay, and then we set up that one. Yeah, it's 15 something now, 15,000. Yes, ma'am, all right, then, see you tomorrow. All right, bless you, yes, yeah. My son will come over the house and in better style, put every bill is paid online. I don't blame you.
I pay my bill online.
But this new one, we have a new account at course, is that they call me about, so I tell them that you're not set for pay. You say, you have that one set up. And then now she say, you see what she did, because she say, I must come now and pay the first one. Come to her and then think they are going to.
I pay almost.
So that's the only one that's not paid. Because he decides, I don't blame him. I don't blame him.
I want to use it.
So it's on there. So she said I must come and pay that one. And then tomorrow we set it. When I come and pay now, they set it up. Because it's my first payment here. And it's for AC, so So what kind of AC do you have? Inverter?
I will at my apartment. When I ring it's old because it leaks.
I know, inverter. So perhaps if I want inverter one, you wouldn't say higher.
Yeah.
We did it practice. It's not at the house, it's a store. It's a store in the inverter. Go on in, I don't want you to finish something on the break right. And then when you come back, I want you to start thinking about some of the questions you're going to raise now, and the thing about language. You understand what I'm trying to say? And organization. I'm going to get, is it an hour break?
No.
Okay.
No. Make it go.
No, just tell me.
40 minutes or so.
Okay, I'll just go. It's almost 8:30. 4:30.
Yeah, just 40 minutes break or so.
Come on. I'll just try and find somewhere to go and drink something.
Alright, so you at 5:15?
When I must come back?
No, I'm Monday.
Tell me when.
5:15, 5:15.
Alright, no problem.
Okay, I'll be the time.
Alright, thanks.
This apple. So you have to write the time. Reflection one, you write the time. So and choose from this one. Select choose from this one.
Alright, thanks.
Yes, I must choose from which I buy drop box. Listen.
Choose from this computer. That's what I said about all your work.
What about my personal laptop?
Once you have it on your personal laptop, you just write choose from this computer. If you find the work wherever it is located.
It is on in the email.
That's why I said download them from the email. Because
From
when we
email.
use Google Drive, it now go directly to where the work there. And we know the asset. So download the work, them the correct work from an email to the computer. Download them first before you submit. Then you submit them.
So, from an email to computer. Okay. So if I choose from his computer. Okay. And then after you put in this one, that's all that is all.
Just continue. Just for the instruction of continue. You don't do nothing but Just a continue until the printer send me receipt.
Okay, so let me see, after you press upload. Permission. Upload. Okay. And that is it, right? Okay.
Easy, man. There is something like easy. Pass the words out.
That's the worst part. Alright, ready? So go back. Where you get this on?
No. Good. Yes.
Alright, go back into this one. Click this.
Click over to the name.
Hmm?
No, that's our name. Like the one you want sent email to her. Click some editation. Submit. Choose where you choose whichever the word is. And then I go press continue. Put in the title. That's it.
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. Alright.
Great. I call it laptop for myself.
And I'm not working on this
It's
day.
over.
James.
So James.
But then I thought we were going to go to
So that yes, and because we are specifically about the church. Some widely publications. You might not even do that the course. I don't even know if I do it. You will always think about people and you don't think about people. Yeah, when he said my mama. ask yourself now, start to think about the instrument that you will develop. Even if you don't write all the kind of area, the fine tune on all the areas, just stop it. So you can knock it together and spend that about maybe 15 minutes talking about that. Remember, we said that you're integrating. What kind of questions would that raise? So right now we're not looking for how it is organized yet. But under each pocket, what would you raise? You know, like under that, what would you raise? And if you had another big area again, like language treatment, what kind of questions would you raise, etc. And then we will get some feedback on that.
I said Dario has no problem with it, so it's fine. Never consulted.
Trying to put the classes together so I can email.
This are not working there, right? It's not there working.
No?
Oh!
No, we're trying to get the. I don't do the cross-working like that. I keep them in my brain and I keep you.
Right.
So that's it. You look at something and then so that's it.
So I'll break when I get to them. So I want to get to
10 to 4 of 1 less. And 3 to 7. So it's early, so it's just to remind you.
Miss, you wanted to before you discuss, you never touched the physical feature. Is that important as well as the social requirements in terms of the physical education?
Yes, the attractiveness of the text in the
So that's really what the physical feature is?
Yes,
So
yeah.
what about the societal?
It depends on.
They have like everything conforms to fundamental rights, conforms to sexuality, conforms to
Yes,
right?
if you want to put a block for that and gender equality and so on, you could put that under one block. You know, like when we talk about gender equality, you know, we're talking about you know, boys and girls, that kind of thing. The visuals are balanced.
Okay.
Sometimes you take up a textbook and the illustration.
Should in a way.
It's cute. It's just pure girls in here. You know, so that's gender bias. So gender bias can be in the illustrations, or gender bias can be in the kind of activities, the activities that the students are being asked to do. They're just girlish. You understand what I'm trying to say? And you know, and it can work the other way too, that the boys are, you know, like alienated. But sometimes, most times, the boys will get left out, you know, you know, so those are some of the things they're looking at, equity. But the kind of social questions that you might want to ask is about identity, you know, self and identity and self-esteem and success and achievement, you know, things like that, if you wish. Is it the kind of course, the kind of book that celebrates the learner? If you wish, you could add those. You didn't have to. But remember, you are developing your own rationale for your instrument while you are using that.
Mr. Chairman, what are we doing again?
I want you to give me the kind of headings that you would ask for your textbook evaluation. Having had the discussion, look at that instrument now. What if, let's say, you were developing that instrument? What would be the areas that you look at and begin to ask yourself some of the questions? I don't expect you to write the entire instrument, but even the one that you say you would like to add, yeah, what kind of questions would that raise? What kind of questions would that raise?
How is it again?
Good.
Miss Mayor,
This is excellent. This is your person. Okay, thank you. missing the family can just transfer. I want to do something like simple sentences. Discussion. Then from here. Yeah, yeah, approach. No, you're suggesting like you know the party. You're suggesting activity. So you can tell it to suggestion. Connection between the language group, the notes, and the structure of the text and achieving. So, the language group, the is understood from books to campus. Is a text arranged or put together in such a way to work essentially to form a transition. Yeah, but the basic levels that we're providing is assume that is is it a connection? Like you want to say a connection. Resources. Which is the resources. And access to the access to the word to the resources and that language good. Correct. Yeah. This is so we is better. We need that heading before. We tools and not approaches. See, I'm about approaches and then do a tool. Yeah, knowledge tools and knowledge tool. No. This is called knowledge. References. And we often memory. Assessment for the choice of presentation election. This we can do category like this or the
Just on that assessment, I think that's what funding assessment. So it's two minutes. It's content analysis. Genuinely certain skills are required. So it's very important what kind of approach is taken to assessment. Is it one
reflection as part of assessment. We have weighting of assessment. So we'll practically we might give at the end of a lesson or a unit to have questions or relevant questions and the specific marks are allocated to specific questions. Is there a connection between whether the person and the weight? As in, you understood that it's 500 words and the rest of it is 5.
Oh, okay.
So we're waiting of assessment.
Way more way.
Suggested responses.
Right, so students are not sure it's either a space, so key or technique.
Okay. I was sending off the email to Shanta. Dear Miss Moore, let me just read it. Can you have the date? Just further to our conversation. Okay. New dates. She says that. All right. Monday. Monday what?
Monday is a 4th and
Monday, August 4. Time? 10:30 to 4. And Tuesday?
That's 3 to 7 or 3:30 to 7.
3:30 to 7.
That's one one.
We're going to copy it to. Should I copy it? Especially to Dario then, mommy girl.
Yes.
Give me Dario.
I think the typing there should come up.
Okay. And like VERVIR.
R-E-G.
Regina, not Regina.
I know what you keep saying.
It's Robin. It's Robin. It's Virginia.
No, it's Regina.
No, you said Virginia. Which one? The one with the E or the REGINEA? I always send it to both of them. You do it. Send it to on the TSC.
Yes,
Okay. All right, that done. What you saying now? Let's click out.
Robin would speak.
I did the right thing. Alright, Miss.
Well, I heard you both of you talking, which was good. And I heard some very good questions.
Alright, so we are in our textbook evaluation. We believe we're going to adopt, and to some extent adapt, the textbook principle of teaching English language as a critical speaking environment. Put forward by again. This is important. The learners that enter the classroom, they are critical speakers to begin with, and it is important that that be taken into consideration. And one of the textbook principles is that the teacher is language aware of the students, the fact that the students enter the classroom with a particular as monolinguals, quote unquote monolinguals. So as a result, the teacher has to find creative ways of immersing the students in using the target language as well as providing them the requisite skills to participate and as well as to function in wider society. So we feel that one of the major criterion for the textbook evaluation are the modes of learning. Does the text provide the students the opportunity to read, write, speak, and listen? We feel that is very important in all the activities. So all the activities, topic to topic, the student must be engaged in those 4 ways as a way to help them to use the target language. We also feel that we're going to also use language as a resource in that does the text provide the opportunity for experiential learning? When the student is using the text, can the student, whatever skills that are required, during the process of using the text, can that student walk into an office or know how to write a minutes or to write a job letter or to write a memorandum? Just basic things. Those kinds of skills that are needed in the wider society. We also feel that content is important, and by content we mean we include skills as a part of content as well as the curriculum using the 6 C's syllabus as a guide. We believe that pedagogy, and we're talking about the teaching approaches that is embedded in the text. Also the levels of comprehension, we feel that the content must engage students from simple to complex. And of course, this is important for them to develop their cognitive as well as other skills. Also to the treatment of language treatment. What was language treatment?
Concepts.
No, language treatment, that's the content. That's okay.
Oh. The whole idea of is there a balance between the language that the students bring to the classroom and that of the target language, and the possible implications of either having a balance or not having a balance of, so if it is that the text doesn't feature anything that is familiar to the students as it relates to language, then what would motivate that? Is it because of the whole global impact that is intended, or global outreach, or is it a situation where the book is specifically targeting these types of students who are monolingual speakers of the Creole, when there is obvious attempt of, as you say, scaffolding students from a level of basic communication in their mother tongue to some form of academic
As well as it could be that when it
Or it could be immersed.
immersed, or when the text is actually suppressing the mother tongue.
So it could be suppressed. So it could either be suppressed,
Right.
scaffold, or immersed. You know, because nothing is wrong with immersing, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing is wrong with immersing, because if you say they get to read, write, listen, and speak in the language, then that's total immersion, and that's good because they're getting the support in the integrated skills, as well as view too. Viewing is very important as well. Right, so that means they look at the kind of stimuli that will generate either talk or will
Well, we're
foster
coming to that piece,
understanding.
jumping over.
Okay.
We have it there. Also, too, we're looking at treatment of concepts. How are students introduced to concepts? You know, is it that, you know, they are helped through, for example, concept mapping or brainstorming? You know, those things are very important to students to help them to stimulate their interest. So we're looking at concepts, whether the concept is it that students are learning the concept through discovery, that kind of thing. So we feel that that's very important. And of course, concepts it has to be a build-up. In our estimation, it has to be a build-up. So if you're teaching like ironing and those kinds of things, sometimes students have a difficulty understanding, for example, contrast, you know, and then understanding ironing. How is ironing or sarcasm or those kinds of concepts introduced to a student? You know, what kinds of activities that are used for the student to understand this kind of concept? We also are looking at approaches using the text. Is it that the text uses, for example, discovery, question and answer? Does it help? Does it prompt students? Does it probe students? Does it suggest pedagogy for the teacher? Because oftentimes the text is not only for the student, but it's also for the teacher. So there's a very important. It's very important that the teacher. That there's some suggestion to the teacher about how to actually teach a particular lesson. In terms of, then we also look at, we're looking at assessment, and we feel that reflection is very, very important as a part of assessment. You know, also weighing, for example, do you have a student write 500 words and give them only 5 marks? You know, so and of course, as part of our assessment, is it that the rubric is provided? So if the text asks a student to write an essay for 500 words about how you feel about ganja smoking in Jamaica, when the student is finished, let's just say a teacher is not here, they get a sense of how that would be assessed. So does the text provide a kind of rubric in that instance? Does the text also use what I think is very helpful, formative assessment? Our students will continuously assess and they can see whether or not they're achieving the learning skills, and as well. Summative assessment is very important, but we feel that that should be one of the last things, and not the thing that is used as kind of punitive measure to, you know, probably to demotivate the student. So in terms of, we have something called language tools, and when we say language tool, probably it's language resources, probably in terms of diagrams, scenarios, examples, references. Are they authentic? And when we say authentic, we go back to Brian's notion about, are these scenarios and diagrams and illustrations and references current? Are they relevant? Are they meaningful? And are they memorable? Will the students, when the student close up, will they remember? Because that's how we are helping them to learn. And of course, this is something that I have more interest in probably than Camille, the gender focus, the gender focus. Is it that the book allows for there to be a kind of balanced approach for how boys learn as opposed to how girls learn English language? Are the illustrations and the examples and the references? If a boy is to read that illustration or that example or that reference, will they understand it? Will they connect it? Will it mean something in their own lives? Because if we say that the part of the job of the text is to speak to experiential learning,
who's benefit from it? Is it that girls are going to more benefit from it as opposed to boys? Because if that is the case, then something is wrong, because in a creative environment, boys and girls have the same history in terms of target language. So far, that's what we do. This people look like we know, yeah.
No, but you know that, you know, Robin, that if you know that I am so frank that it frightens me sometimes. Because when I just talk in the midstream, it's a foolishness, you don't know that's how I am. No, that's very deep. That's true. That's true. So you're on your road now for your instruments, and you know you have to type that up and set it with this thing. So the only part that I have to add now is the Likert scale, the kind of rating that you're going to do. Yes, no questions lead nowhere.
Right.
And as I said, you can try to come up with a kind of rating that will give you insight as to whether or not the book has gaps that you can fix up, you know. So you have to look for things like adequate, inadequate, or sufficient or insufficient, or you know, those kind of things. You must decide which one best give you that, and then you might want to say some things that are not visible. I don't know what you're going to use for that, or unobserved, or not present, or something. Because if it's not there, instead of rating it as 1 or 2 and rating it low, that wouldn't be fair. You'd have to put maybe 0 means not there. I don't know. You understand what I'm trying to say? Or but normally Likert scale rate starts from 1, so you have to decide what's going to be for you not having that option, or you're going to use 0 as the fact that it's not there, so that's not in the Likert scale, to add it up when you're ready to add up the things. Likert, L-I-K-E-R-T. Likert scale is just a rating scale that usually it's like a 4-point or 5-point. We use them every time, but you know, whoever developed that in research is a way of measuring something on it's a quantitative. Alright. Although the numbers represent something, what it also does is give you qualitative data, and it can give you frequency data too. It can give you often, seldom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Least. That's the power of it. Whatever you put there, it can quantify things if you wish to have it seldom, always, never, frequent. That's a kind of quantifying in some ways. Or if you want to do qualitative in terms of, you know, like proficient, advanced, you know, that kind of thing. It gives you that. But I think it is developed, I think it was perhaps the name of the person who developed it. I don't. But it's Likert. And
for the textbook evaluation, is it done in a tabular form, or is it you write it?
For simple question.
when you design the instrument, you put the instrument like you can put it in a Word document, and then now you can see the headings going across.
Okay.
Right, but it's tabular. It's really tabular because when you use subheadings, you put that in bold, so you might put content or you put relevance, and then each of those tables, they're small.
Oh.
The line you put like age suitability, grade suitability, yes, and you put those things, and then the scales are out there beside it. So when you're ready to add it up, if you're adding things up, you can
put the numbers.
you can add.
But I don't put the numbers.
You don't have to add, but then because you're using a Likert, you can add the scales, you know, and then you can decide if the book is exceptional or whatever when you're done. But sometimes we don't go to that level. But the bottom line is that because it is done in a tabular, it's a table form, and the rating is there, then you can add across. So what it does, it gives you information about just one area too, because the subheadings are there, and if you add up, so content can be out of 20 or out of 50, or you might not put any numbers to it.
Right.
When you're finished, you might just give a qualitative, a prose evaluation to say that the book fell down in so many areas, or you might say of the 7 areas in which the textbook was assessed, 50% fall, you know, like in moderate, because some people use moderate too, you know. Sometimes they use that, like moderate. What the opposite of moderate? Like they use moderate, mild, moderate, high, low, something like that. You know, things like that. So it depends on what you want to look at.
Because I would use the pros and just put a key and...
Yes, you can use the pros, because I don't add up anything.
I don't
add up anything. You know, but the scale, it's the frequency of the moderate, that which one is more frequent. If it is 5, that's more frequent, then that is your high mark. So you don't add up anything, you know, the most frequent mark is 5. So you can get the mid and the mode, whatever you want. But then just looking at it, you know if it is a good book, because if it is a good book,
trust me.
if it's a good book, you will see that all of the things end up in 5. If 5 is your highest, or when you look, you see 4 to 5, then you know that's a great text. But if it is a 1 to 2, you know that it has limitations. And then you can go further now in terms of making your recommendations for teachers' use. That's why I said it would be good to do it on a rental. Because if you do the rental, you have to live with it, because it's with your rent. So, but then now you can make it useful and say, no, here is it. But there are approaches that you can use to fill the shortcomings, that kind of thing. Yeah, that's the kind of way, because I wanted you guys to do useful things, like when you go back to your school.
Well, I understand the rating, because if for example, if we're doing modes of learning, and we have the scale.
Yeah.
So at the end, we can say whether or not the modes of learning is 5 or 1 or 2,
Yeah,
and then you just add up everything.
Right, yes. And then why I wanted to engage you in that now, when September comes, and I want you to look like you went somewhere and you studied. You know, so when you're into staff meeting, you know, we want you to model a change. We don't want you to just learn about the teacher as a change agent. We don't want you to go pop down the people in place, because you know that it's turfy. But at the same time, when you open your mouth to speak, this is not the person who was there 2 semesters ago. You want to sound informed, you know, and you're able to say, you know, although we have these books that we have with the rentals that we're using, you know, this is what we find, you know, this is what I did. So it means then that you need to look out for, here are some things you might have to infuse in the text, because it's not adequate in terms of that. So when you go to that, knowing that, so you might not do it necessarily with the CXC text, you might do it 1 year, you might say, okay, let's do it with the grade 7 text. That is important for us, especially if you're not following a series. You know, let's do it for a grade 7 text. What are the shortcomings? So you know that's on the rental program. You do that. Where are the gaps between our grade 7 and our grade 9? You know, so that's how you can use it, textbook evaluation, to inform what you do with your staff development, you know, as well as, you know, things like that. And these are better ways to spend departmental meetings more than sit down and gripe. And, you know, I mean, it should be, each time you go to a departmental meeting, you should have something looking out for, you know. So as far as you're able to squeeze little things into your meetings. I don't know what the meetings are like at your school, but I know some department might not even be enough, you know. And it is important for the department to move into a kind of professional development community, because if it doesn't go into that way, you can't help each other, you know. Somebody else is learning at another university, somebody learned a year ago. It gives you a chance now, a professional space to say, you know, hey, look at this. I can't forget this teacher who we're looking at. When I was an education officer, I found the first set of master teachers in the island, and we went to Rome. And this girl, her name was Wisdom, something like that, Wisdom. She used to write for the children's own. And I don't know if she became an officer or anything, but she had a double barony, but she was a social studies teacher. In fact, she was at a primary school, Flankers or Flanders or one of those. And when I stepped into that woman's classroom, I knew all along about Gardner's multiple intelligence theory. This is something that you know from day one. But apparently she was doing some study at some offshore, and I was fascinated by it. And she came back, you see, and she set up her classroom. She had the gym, and the desks were not because of, you know, old time primary school desks were 3 sit down in them. So it's not like they were in group, but she managed to get a carpenter to put some like a stand, like a stick, you know, the bottom set flat, and then like a signpost. She had Jimmy Cliff Center, she had Faye Ellington Center, the intelligences, she had Oliver Samuel Center, so that was for the bodily kinetic. And she had Jimmy Cliff for the musical, Faye Ellington for the linguist, and one of these artists, she had somebody else. But they were all local people who were to match the intelligence. She didn't use, like say, the visual, spatial, this, that, and logical, mathematical. She had something like Einstein Center. And I look at her and I remember I laugh and said, you couldn't find anybody local to do that. You know, but we laugh. And listen to me. Those children move around in that, I don't know, she was doing the rivers for social studies, that was a topic. And she had them in the visual spatial, measuring the map reading skills that we do with a piece of card. So they were doing map reading. The group that was the linguistics, something, they were doing some play about mermaid or something to that. This one, and everything, the Jimmy Cliff Center wrote out the song. And when those people get up and sing something about the length of the rivers, too many rivers to cross, you see. Most people, the content, you know. Like she would say, the longest river, there's many rivers to cross. The longest river is so and so. The short, and to the tune of many rivers to cross. The content, the longest one, the shortest one, the one that was adjacent to that. And I know when I talk about it, who's been come over me. And I said, this is somebody who, she just fascinated about it and just ran with it. And then when I look, I saw her publish, she used to come in the children's room, she published the lesson plans in the children's room, and you could see she divided up our team with multiple intelligence. So perhaps somebody look at that and say, how should we want to go into the classroom and actually see? And I say, here is somebody who learned something and applied it straight away. So I'm saying all of this to say to you that you don't have to wait for a department policy for you to begin to implement whatever you learn here. You just do it. They may want to do the textbook evaluation. You do it with your own text, you do that. But what I'm imploring you to do, I don't have to implore you hard enough because you're in the environment for what conveying. I want to implore you to try to, it doesn't matter how simple it looks, but just try to research. So try and put the question and say, what would students do if I were to do so and so? And you describe what they were and you write up your little findings. And you have all of them little something saved on your computer. Because one of the things that we could find the master teachers were in some places, they did fascinating things. But you see the instrument, there was a part of the instrument that asks for evidence of research, like what they wrote up. And like one of the problems with us, we don't love reading, we don't love write either. But we teach our hearts out, but there was no evidence for somebody. So I'm just saying all of this to you. You don't know, you might end up trying to do a PhD, and then you have something that gives you like a semblance of where you can go because you have some things typed up. You just type it up. You can even divide up a little template if you want, you know, research topic. What did I investigate? What method did I use? What were my findings? It could be a one-pager, and you have several of those things that you never know where it will take you. So I'm encouraging you to be researchers because that's how you become a change agent as well. It's not to turn the school upside down. It's to begin to model what you believe in and the ripple effect. You do it, and then you might get the person who you set the paper with, you know. I remember when I went to St. Hilda's straight out of university, you know, to teach, and they showed me the paper for a co-call was the grade 7 literature exam paper. Somebody sat down and made 90 multiple choice questions. Either 90, I don't know if they were all multiple choice or one answer, whatever, but as I can remember, it was a multiple choice question. 90 of them, and then the last question, the 10 marks was for write a character sketch of either Maria or Josh or so on. And when I look, I said, what kind of test is this? Is it literature, you know? And I said, what? When will the children know that the conventions of literature are And they never too happy, you know, because they love them out of just and it's such. And when they do write them paragraph, when people them reach out third form, you couldn't understand. Why is it that the children cannot write more than a paragraph? Because you see long they write one paragraph. So everything stop a paragraph. No, some practice that they have in lower school affect them for the rest of the night. And I went there and they look at me and said, oh, wait, what? And they would have changed that in whatever. And I went there, see, and I changed it from my grade, from fifth form. I implemented just what I knew at you. I just so fascinated with the lecture tutorials in the literature. In my days, man, when I got tutorial, you know, come on, I don't know what's happening here in undergrad, but people just, you know, and I went back and what we did was had a joint lecture. They would come in the big dining room. Everybody in fifth form was stand table for the main lecture. So when we took up a book of the safety, like when we went to kill a mockingbird, they come to general lecture. And then either I would do the lecture or somebody else. We would come together and do that as staff who present on that. And Mr. Kavin, you said do that, and then go in a tutorial sheet and get it. When we said tutorial sheets, I how did you get the tutorial sheet that the thing says you will work on it hard. And they criticize me and say, oh, me come like this or you will whatever. But then just say it in staff, yeah, and they get 10 questions. And can I tell you something? When those girls were finished with their tutorial presentation, they selected 3 of the topics to submit after that. When me did always fascinated with portfolio. I never come and you would read about portfolio. And they would put it in a book. And when I come in the mornings, I used to travel all the way from Montreal on the bus before we get a little car. Me only have to find a seat for the student who is up there, you know. Because my chair is already occupied. And class going on, nobody stands because they don't disturb me. They don't even know when I sleep at the back if I know. And I'm sitting there when you hear the quality. That's third form. Some of them never reached the form because I did it from third. When you hear the quality of the discussion they were having, not to mention those in the form, they said they were didn't have it. And the only time they remember the fans at the back is when they reach a point when they have a controversy. You hear them say, Miss, what do you think? And all I'm allowed to say is what I think. Because after that, I'm totally dismissed. They're just gone. I may never understand that as student empowerment. Because I was a young teacher myself. I didn't know that's how you empower students. They were in control of the learning. It's long after me come now hear about control of learning, you start to do like masters in education. Because you don't hear about that in humanities. I said to myself, so what was doing best practice all along? And you see this thing with the grade school, it's not today they're doing that. When I came back now to do my masters, they sent me, somebody cut out something to the newspaper. I think it was the same Ralph Thompson, and today I rated school, you know. And he rated schools in English A and B. He didn't do all the code, just A and B. And St. Hilda's High School and Meadowbrook High School. St. Hilda's High School was first for language and second in the entire island for literature. And the other way around from Meadowbrook. I don't know who was teaching at Meadowbrook. And every time he did the assessment for the 5 consecutive years, St. Hilda's held that. And you know why I had to take the credit? Because I went to St. Hilda's where they had this thing where you just teach upper school. Like I had all the 5th formers and like 1 4th former had to beg for. But they backfire on you know, because you see when they go on an exam, you do every work in the school like you have to you have to plan graduation. You go buy present because you're not in the class. So you don't want to go cruel away from backfire for you. So when I find out now that it was backfired and they start pull up some people to teach with me. But I think that was what cemented. You see, you have to teach differently. And if you want to try that, give them the assignment. I find that it is empowering when a student gets the assignment before and you do everything and then they choose what they want. You get the best one. But that's not what we do. We are more concerned about testing and this kind of, you don't know what you're getting. I don't mean you tell them, like what they're doing when my daughter went to teach, you know, in The place name again. Not she's at DC now, or place name Manassas in Virginia. They used to do the test, you know, the national test, because they have to pass the test. So they would have a mock test.
What's the difference?
The same test, you know.
Yeah,
Support, you know, you're any child of mine, know you must support. When they say to me, say, Miss Ferraria, this is, they say, I'm sorry, where it come from, we call that cheating. She said, Mommy, I didn't plan to insult them, it just came out. And they took up the whole department, have her off. And she said, but I'm sorry, we don't do that in Jamaica. We don't test it. You give the child a test, we don't even know what's coming on common entrance. We don't see our tests. We teach our students and then they do the test and do well. And they set up himself for a year, and that girl taught the ESL group. So she get the Hispanic there, the Mexican, all kinds of persons where English was not their first language. And trust me, until this day nobody can beat her record.
Yeah.
Because it teaches you, why are you going to know, give the children the test? How it benefit? Because all they want to do is pass the test, forget to the, what you call the government subvention. Because when they don't pass test, you know, they close down school, and it's not like it.
Yeah, I know.
They close down school and ship the children into another bar. They don't care. It's not like us when, you know, them still there. Like my husband called me this morning because he's an hero. So he asked me for the Reverend, one of my friends, who is the chairman of the board. He must have changed his circuit. So I'm saying, is when Reverend Macante going away to the new circuit? He said, in the August. He said, with that, we are going up because some bad news comes. 3 schools are being closed, or 3 primary schools, but you can't blame the government. Because right now in St. Anne, you have 50 students, and then you might turn around having about 6 teachers. You think that's fair?
Yeah.
50 pockets, 50. So what they're doing is closing down the schools because they some communities. I don't know what's going to happen to the kids, but I guess they're going to put them to a neighboring school.
Yeah.
The government can't run a school like that. It's unfair. And why would you have 6 teachers teaching 50 students? Imagine the few students in front of them. And Robin, we can bet you. So when you go to 3/4 of them still can't read.
Exactly.
Mr. Teacher, my husband was showing me one school where the teacher has I think she said she studied anyway, she had a degree. And she had 4 students in her class. And you couldn't get 100% literacy to the 4 students. You have 4 kids to teach for the entire day. And you are carrying on money Saturday to teach 4 of them. And elsewhere, you have a teacher struggling with 50 odd in the class. Not fair. So sometimes you go and do some things you can't blame them because it's too costly. It's better they pull them all or send them somewhere else and shut down and turn into a session. Say, no, tell me now, so if she hear back his me talk. He said, no, you're going to tell me that and I'm my best friend. He said, but you can't tell her, we want her to come out of the area first and then when she be Duncan's. No. They said, but I don't fear because they know she as a board chairman. She'll fight against that. So they will wait till she turn her back. And it's not the region great, you know, it's ministry or head office they hear. Because the ministry don't discuss it with the region, they only send to tell you which school they are closing. So the officer heard now and don't know how to tell Reverend McCarthy and my husband now fast tell me now. How many of you go tell my friend that? But we can't tell her because she's going to, it's going to upset her.
Dr. Perry, do you know the JP on campus?
I think Margaret Facey Dobbs is one, you know. She's in our department, she inside. You know, when you're going, I don't know if she's on leave. When you're going into the director's office, like across from SLT, inside one of the inner office. I don't think she has any problem signing once you're a student.
Well, it's just a sign.
You what?
My cousin is applying for a scholarship. So he has the original copies of his C6 passes.
JP work in areas, you know.
And I had them copies.
JP work in geographical, they might look at you and tell you so they can't sign. But once you're a UE student, it doesn't matter if you're from St. Anne or whatever. The UE JPs, the UE based one.
To go on UTEC is a UTEC. So.
Yeah, the UE based one can. And there's a gentleman in the bursary too, Once you're a U student, you have the ID. I think that is how they facilitate the students. They don't necessarily know the student. Once you come with the ID and you register, because they know from time to time in this community, you need your aid. I think it's best to, if the person is a UTech person, it's best to see if what UTech is. Or you can ask Margaret first, see if she's tomorrow, see if she's here. I didn't hear, I don't know if she's in the office. What is that office? You go in the director's office and then ask her Mrs. Face it out.
Yes.
And tell her that you hear that she's a JP and ask if she would do that.
Just remember to send us the syllabus.
Which one? The new one? Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I want, but you can't, you remember you can't give it to anybody.
No.
Yeah.
And maybe has there been any form of writing on the word proposed or component of the CC?
Yes, the SPA is in here.
No man, as in maybe anybody writing on it, because I know that at one point,
No.
and there was a debate facilitated by, I think, Darren Jackson, read the proposed or component.
That already something they were talking. I don't think that shows the right people to talk about.
Yeah, sometimes they should in Jamaica.
You did watch that
It's
one?
like Martin Henry from
because they did like a
He's
street
studying every issue.
survey.
The HOD of JC and
Yeah.
one lady from Teachers College where kept asking what the question was. And I said,
Oh yeah, there's one.
he never looked. It was a poor.
Yeah.
It was a poor interview. I said no.
That's
sir.
true.
There are several other persons they could have asked. You know.
Like who are some person that you would recommend?
Mr. One of them, Mr. Right
You know what would it be?
To do what? For what you wanted to do?
Because we're going to have a presentation on it, so I'm just thinking that we could actually spice it up a bit, maybe like a podcast kind of thing,
When
like
we-
a box pop.
Oh, you want? When we do the syllabus, you know what I mean?
Yeah, put it in the back. No, not the handbag.
In there, okay.
Oh, you want a box pop?
Yeah, but that's
and then
good.
do a podcast.
Okay. I was just serious step in me giving you know.
Yeah, I realize this. That's
I am just 19.
We are trying to rise to the occasion.
Me try to, me dying for you the answer, that's why I'm gonna make sure I give it to you. It's a serious topic. Yeah.
Mr. Right, how we're going to start working. Because this one is kind of easy-ish.
So
Yeah.
start
The text evaluation. Kind of easy.
Are we supposed to write an actual evaluation of the text or a text? Because it's not limited to one text.
A one book we are used, Bridget.
No, we would not necessarily.
No, we can't. You think yourself going to read a bunch of different book?
It's not very good.
Then you can do one and do one.
No, miss.
No, develop the instant media, you do one.
One
You
book
do one lower school book
I am
and
the
you
lead,
do
miss.
one.
I am the lead of the group. One
Prepare.
Self-acclaimed.
One book. One book.
Michael, merge.